Samurai Success community, welcome back to the Scroll. I'm here with CEO David Olcott. How are you, David?
Good fighting, sir. Always good to see you.
Really looking forward to our topic. We're talking all about building wealth, true wealth. But before we do that, I want to take a moment and thank our community. We have reached a milestone. 5,000 souls have chosen to become part of this community across all of our platform. So I just want to say a big thank you for anybody that's taken the time to come and share time with us, whether it be here on the Scroll, whether it be on all of our social platforms. A big thank you from myself and David.
Absolutely, sir. That's I know in the realm of what you hear about all these big numbers and things like this is huge to us. Because remember, 2 years ago, I think you announced that we had 31 followers, something like that. So to
And I
give
think
some
even then you're rounding
context,
up.
okay, I may have rounded up a little bit. There's that entrepreneur brain that we're going to talk about today already at play. So
And the exciting thing is that by the time this scroll goes out, you will have interviewed a very significant person in your life. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how excited you are for a certain conversation that's coming up.
so much of my life have been when I discovered this beautiful concept by Joseph Campbell, right? The hero's journey and the hero's return. I will tell you, I'm about to have one of those moments right in front of you, if you will, of my journey returning home and then continuing on to its new odyssey, its new level
Mm.
of adventure. And a man and a book series that has truly been profound in my life, my wife's life, and to everyone. If you've been around in my world, you've heard me talk about this conversation. You've heard me talk about this dialogue. You've heard me talk about these concepts and principles over and over again. It's imbued into Samurai Success. And that gentleman's name is Neil Donald Walsh. And he wrote a series called Conversations with God. And I will tell you, it's remarkable on my journey of how many people have not heard about this work. If you haven't, and this is the first time hearing about it, please do yourself a magnificent favor, seriously. And go and download whatever you have to do to get a copy of this book called Book One, Conversations with God, or anything around Neil Donald Walsh's work. It's truly remarkable. It's life-changing. There's no question about it. And I get a chance to interview him this Friday and ask him some really deeper questions that you may not get from the book or anything else like this, because I've been on this journey with him personally for 28 years now. Just met him just before the beginning of Samurai Success, and I know that was kind of the launch about me having the courage to be able to move out on my own and actually build the idea that I've always wanted to do. So full circle, right back to the journey's home and being able to sit down with this man. So it's going to be a good day.
Exciting stuff. So if you have just come across this platform for the first time, I would like subscribe to the channel so you do not miss that fantastic conversation. That will be coming out at the start of December. Make sure you subscribe. Push the notification bell so that you do not miss it. You'll be one of the first to see it, and I'm looking forward to. For me personally, I'm looking forward to seeing two greats, two incredibly impactful people in my life and my journey to just bounce around this wonderful conversation, shall we say. All right, back to the topic. We're talking about how to build true wealth. And one of the things we've helped listeners and watchers over the last few months is really understand this concept of freedom. And we've talked a lot about how Samurai Success help with the mindset and the psychology for that. We've talked about how Samurai Success help with the structure within the business. And this is going to round off the conversation on the third pillar of our P3 model, which is all around profits and financials. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this particular topic. I know there'll be many people that are tuning in specifically for this because we know money makes the world go round. And the angle we're really coming at this conversation, David, is quite playful, really, because it talks about how to become wealthy, not rich. Maybe we can start there and go, what's the difference? How is there a difference between wealth and rich?
So again, working with all these folks over the last 28 years, 450 companies, 50,000 individuals, it gives you a rare and different perspective because you start hearing these things over and over again, and they become so loud you can't not hear them. And one of the things I played with a lot of my life was I wanted more. I wanted more of this. I wanted more of that. I wanted more. And money comes right down. If you just have more, it's going to solve everything. Now, I'm already giving the story away to you by saying that with the tone that I just presented it in. So you're absolutely right. More is not always, or if ever, better. I will tell you,
Mm.
because the things we really value in this life actually are things that are scarce. Why is gold so popular these days? Because there isn't a lot of it. Why are diamonds so popular? Why is jewelry? Well, I will tell you that in a lot of our dynamics when it comes to coaching and the work with the relationships dynamics, we find that people who don't spend a whole bunch of time together actually value that time that they have because it's so scarce.
Mm.
So playing within that thing, more isn't always going to do that. Now, let's go along that path. If Dave, if I just had more money, it would solve everything. Well, you haven't been witnessing, like I've been observing, lottery winners or people who have come into massive amounts of wealth, or second or third generation people who didn't build a business, but all of a sudden got the wealth from all that work and hard work. Um, it's truly amazing idea of watching when people come into this. If I just have more, it's going to solve us. Now, when I was growing up in the Florida Keys, there was a gentleman down there whose grandfather who had actually it invented and patented the particular bit, the oil drilling bit that is now prominent in every single industry today, that to drill for this particular oil, that you had to have this particular bit or you weren't able to get to through the shell, right, to get to this. His grandfather was the inventor of this. He inherited several $100 million. I can't know that specific, and I don't want to give you names, but I will tell you that within 10 years of him receiving this, he was completely broke. Now, this is a theme, guys. This is one of those things that you hear lottery winners being more in debt than when they actually won the lottery than after they had the lottery. How do you get more in debt when you have hundreds of millions of? It's possible because the belief system around money is what's driving all this. It has
Mm.
nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with your identity and your belief around money, your belief systems around that. So more isn't going to get you where you want to go to. That's what we're going to call rich today. Just getting more, the whole mentality of it, just do more. As a matter of fact, if you take medication, right, that says, hey, if this helps at this level, isn't more going to help? A lot of people believe that. And this is not accurate.
Mm.
The body only can take in so much, and then it releases the rest of it, or it starts to diminish the returns. In businesses, we've also noticed this, that working with businesses who wanted to get to 15, 20, and 30 million, by doing financial analysis, we recognized that their profitability actually started diminishing. With one company we're working with, was after 12.5 million, 12.7, 13.5, 15.2, they are actually having diminishing returns of profitability. So they were working harder and they were making less.
Mm.
But the story in their head was, I'm still making more. And as long as you have that belief system, you're going to chase more, which is about chasing rich. Today, I'd like to start a different conversation about truly becoming wealthy. And I will tell you right from the beginning of this, one of these two things can be taken from you and the other one cannot be. So I hope I have your attention.
Mm. The Wow, that's got my attention very quickly. But the the trap of more, what happens in the business? Because I think one of the things we've talked about with the absence of structure, we talk about chaos and complexity. What is it? What does it do to the inside of a business when more becomes the motivator?
So it's a really interesting, complex, and yet simple formula when you break it down. So if I jump on YouTube today or any of these informational sites, I'm always getting this more strategy. Like if you make more money, then you can do this. For example, if you go and you buy a car as a business owner, you can depreciate so much of that. You get a big tax break. If you spend more, you're going to have to spend less, is the mentality. Initially, that is accurate. It's not true, but it is accurate. because I get a tax deduction this year, for example. But guess what? The IRS are no fools, guys. They're going to get their pound of flesh. They're just going to delay that. And you're going to pay for it later. So now I have all this money. I go buy this car and I get a tax deduction 179. I even hate to even say that because everybody's going to be looking at tax deduction 179 all of a sudden. And it says, oh, I can get this tax deduction. I can do all this. That is true and accurate in this moment. But now you have to make up the money later on to pay for that. And this is what's called the hamster wheel, the treadmill effect, the more effect. And I want you guys to hear me very clearly about this. We're all chasing more. And because of that, the whole psychology of taxes and government and policies and procedures are all based upon this. So now you're buying to this depreciating assets that is reducing in price over time. And now you have to make up for that later on. So you're constantly adding more to the plate, weight of the aircraft. We call it BAM, bare absolute minimum, the amount of cash that you need to keep your lights on, doors open without going into further debt. So you now just added more weight. I've got a new asset class, a new depreciating asset, whatever it is. I got to pay for that. I got to maintenance on the vehicle. I got to get tires. And I'm not thinking about that. All I'm thinking about is that tax deduction. I'm going to save money right now. And that gets me caught into the trap. Now, just add one car and then add another building or add over this. And it's all these tax deductions. And eventually those tax deductions catch up to you. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are probably, well, eventually, if you just do the right things, you can get away from all that. Not most people don't know that. And again, it starts establishing the more concept.
Yep.
Right? We got to keep doing more. And I will tell you, that's exhausting. And I will tell you, I've been through this for 20 years, watching people do this trend. I wanted to do my best to talk them out of it. They needed to experience. And then we spent a lot of years getting them off that treadmill because it's exhausting. So that's what more does.
Isn't it interesting as well? I've had the pleasure of speaking to a number of our clients who have been financial majors and have come to Samurai Success not knowing the half of it. Maybe looking at some of the CPA aspects of running a business, but certainly not the path that we're about to talk about, which is the next step off the hamster wheel. What is the first step off that hamster wheel, David? If maybe let's frame the conversation around the 5 financial intelligences. If making more is step 1, what is level 2?
So let's talk about those 5 fundamental, financial intelligences. I'll just list those off for you so you can have a framework.
Great.
Very first one is making money. Great. We're covering that and more. If you can make money, you've already got financial intelligence number 2. But financial intelligence number 2 is keeping that money. And most people that know how to make it aren't really good at keeping it. And then we have to introduce, going from 1 to 2 introduces the main concept of going from rich to wealth is about structure. Structure helps you identify strategy. Now, without structure and you just move into strategy, then you're just getting, hey, you should do this tax deduction thing. You should do this. You should do this. It's all about making more without keeping more. And financial intelligence number 2 is what we're really good at. Now, listen, if you're going to work with us, clients, you have to be really good at making it. We can't help you with that. Not right now. Later on, we can. But for right now, you've got to learn how to make it. We're really good at structuring it so you can keep it. And then moving into financial intelligence number 3, which is about protecting it, which has to do with trusts, right? And then all of a sudden you have a will and you have all these other instruments about how to do it. And this is what rich people turning into wealthy people do. So in your will, if you know anything about the Roosevelt family, the Rockefeller family and the Vanderbilt family, if you contrast those 2 families just using this keeping it and protecting it strategy, the Vanderbilts had more money than the US Treasury. That's the myth about it. I mean, they had more money than anyone else on the planet. That's the family dynamic. But within the will dynamic, they were just given and handed this money about you should go and do this and attempt to build wealth. Well, their money kept shrinking over the years because they had lavish parties and they spent a lot. And there was a lot of really great stuff that happened during that past 100 years of having that kind of family money. And then it just started dissipating. With the Rockefellers, it was very different. Written within that will that says when you receive the money from the family, you must, in order to get any more money, you've got to have a rate of return. You've got to think like the rest of us who built this think later. They were teaching those strategies. So those two instruments, two wills, right, and trusts that went along with that, given to different family dynamics, had
Mm.
different ingredients in them. They had different recipes in them. And one now has more wealth than the other, and the other one's dissipating. You can do this within your family dynamic. You shouldn't control the money. That's not what I'm saying, but have at least some instruments about saying if you really want to create a legacy, that's the way to be able to do it. So
So
financial intelligence number 3 is about protecting.
that sounds a lot like the programming work that we do.
Uh, Beautifully said, sir. Absolutely. Because not everyone's built to have that money. Because if they had that money, they would have built it themselves. So by handing them that money, you got to be careful about handing people money that don't have the same programming who generated the wealth because they don't know what to do with it. And
Mm.
so the majority of thing is they're like, oh, I want to give this away. I want to be able to do this. And if that's your gig, that's fine. But just don't let it affect the rest of the wealth that you've created. Let that individual do that, but have some things in place to be able to protect it.
I think that's what it means in the scriptures where it says that a man will curse his family for 7 generations or bless. It's that behaviors, rituals, programming, that sense of this is who we are and what we do. And yeah, you can. That's a beautiful analogy that you've played out with those two families. And okay, intelligence number level 4.
So once you know how to make it, you know how to keep it, and then you know how to protect it, then you have to learn how to invest it. And that's what the Rockefeller family did, very different from the Vanderbilt family, right? They taught their kids to invest. You got to get a rate of return. So financial intelligence number 4 is you have to learn how to invest. How to what is currency? What is cash flow? What is buying an appreciating asset? Now we know all these terms, but not a lot of people spend a lot of time really diving into this with a really clear plan from this generation, their own lives, to other generations. We help with that so that you can really make sure that you've got an investment plan for all of your siblings or whoever else you want involved and your employees. That's one of the great things about really understanding how money works.
And I think there's a reason why a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad has
Mm.
become so popular is because these things are not taught. And I think what's great about Samurai Success is that not only do you teach this stuff, but you help them apply it. You really help them get to that point of applying that knowledge, applying that wisdom, which is where the real transformation lies.
And here's something that not a lot of people know about me. Um, the universe has been I've been so blessed. I was adopted into my family. And so I was brought into a typical Methodist family. So I imagine that my mom, who was a young lady at the time, still in college, that's the only thing I know about her. She was not married at the time, and thank goodness she decided to give me up to be able to be adopted, as opposed to any other alternative. Very thankful for that, obviously.
Mm.
So first things first, I walked into this Methodist family, right? And by the way, Methodists or like Baptists or like other Christianity faiths or things, we don't talk about money a lot, right? We don't talk about teaching how to use money or what. As a matter of fact, my parents never told me their estate worth until almost the end when my father sat down with me. He says, listen, you're the executive of the estate. I'm going to have to share something. But that was at the end. I knew none of that was part of my programming, guys. And if you've had a
Mm.
shared experience, now, what I got fortunate is not only had that family, I also had a Catholic family. And I also had a Jewish family that I grew up in friendships with. And I was always in every single summer, I was bombarded with different, because in the Jewish family, we talked about money all the time. I mean, that was the constant conversation. In the Catholic family, you talked about money, but you're a little shameful about it. And there was there was the dynamics of 3 different rule structure of programming that I got inundated with that allowed me to go, wow, there's more going on this planet than I knew about. And so one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about sharing this information with people is because when I was younger, of the influences those had on me and why I've been able to generate wealth myself, because I didn't have to play just by one set of rules, right? And one set of programming. I started to expand that. And that's what the coaching really here does.
Mm. One of the enjoying conversations I had was with your good lady, Dr. Levan, and you know, so she ran a dental practice and exceptionally good at what she does. But again, the story you told me about the 6 hours of like business training, if you imagine that 6 hours of business training at medical school, what percentage of that would have been on the financials? Probably would have been even less. I guess, can you recall some of the with ways with which Samurai supported businesses like hers? In that path of knowing your numbers, really giving back that sense of peace and freedom to people who just want to do the thing that they love to do.
And that's what's so beautiful about Dr. Varn's story, is that she is truly a remarkable dentist, an artist, an artisan. There's no question. I mean, I know you guys don't know this, but kids from all over the country would hear about her through their parents, right? And the parents would fly them down to her office in this little town, right, in Sarasota, just outside of it. And they would fly their kids down there because they had had personal experiences with their own dentist, that pushing this needle in their thing and jamming the Novocaine in there, and this, she had developed this amazing ability with a syringe to be able to apply Novocaine where you didn't feel it. I mean, over and over again, people were scared to death. And then, the doctor would be looking at them. They're like, so, okay, you tell me when you're going to do it. And it was like, it's already done. And they're like,
Yeah.
what is happening here? I can't believe it. And what do you mean? The tooth's already out? And it's like, yes. And they had been freaked out because they'd had an experience of the past, traumatizing experience. Believe me, it's painful, right? You're in one of the most intimate parts of your mouth or your body, and you're having pain associated with it. Not a fun thing. So she was an amazing artisan to be able to do that. So that was her gift.
Mm.
One of the things, so when we got to, numbers and things like this, she was thrilled to look at spreadsheets, Ryan. Thrilled to look at financials, thrilled to hear from her coach that, hey, by the way, we're going to talk about numbers and P&L and balance sheet. She could care less about
I'll
that.
warn you, she's probably watching. You'll have a conversation.
Okay, hi, hon. But she was not excited about it all. We know that about you. If you're not excited about, because if you're excited about it, you'd already be doing it. Okay, so here's how we approach it. We have fun like we're doing today. We take these silly behaviors and we laugh at them, because in order to be able to get where you want to go, you've got to be willing to do something you haven't been able to do before. And knowing your numbers is a part of that, but it isn't everything. You've got to be really great and master what you do, or skill set, or want to learn that. And then the numbers then support that. And that's where we have fun, where you don't have to learn this all on your own. You're learning it in a fun, kinesthetic environment. You're learning by doing and experiencing. And that's the game changer right there. So
Yeah, and when we talk about the intelligence of keeping more money, it now starts to make sense. So if anybody is coming to this conversation thinking, "Oh, build more wealth without more sales, without earning more dollars, that's not possible," now you're starting to see how this game really works, right?
so much about rich is about money. So much about wealth is part of its money, but the rest is the rest of the adventure, which is the experience. And that's the part you can't take away from somebody. Listen, money comes and goes. And yes, money can be taken away from you. Even when you're wealthy, money can be taken. But your knowledge and experience about how to rebuild that cannot be. And that's what true wealth at Samurai Success means. Money has an aspect of it, but it's not the whole gamut. Your relationships, your connections with your employees, your connections with the community, your connections with your nation, whatever that is for you, that's when you're starting to truly build wealth. And that's something that most people don't correlate to, that we now invite them to, remind them of, but make sure they understand that without that true connection to those things, what the hell is all this stuff about?
Mm,
Money, really? The cars, the guys, the gals, it's purposeless. And you feel that over time. But when you have really deep-seated connections with people
mm.
and you really are able to share experiences with them, I've never heard anything better.
Mm. Let's just say I have built a business making good money. You've helped me through the power of coaching with Samurai Success to keep more of it. I'm more profitable than I've ever been. I'm more organized around my protection. Um, but I've never heard of, as a business owner, being able to invest to build wealth. Maybe you can give me a 101 on how that might come up in one of my coaching conversations.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but if you really study anything about money, and you really should, because money, like we started this whole conversation, money makes the world go round. There's no question about it. Money is just energy though, guys. And that's the real important thing to remember. If you chase it and that's the only thing you chase, well, there's some scripture that goes along with this, the love of money, of course, right? It's not money itself, but it's your belief about money. If that's the only thing that you want to worship, well, you're going to have some different issues. So this isn't about worshiping money or any of the other stuff. This is about understanding money, about understanding that it's simply energy to be able to help you do really great things. A really great comment that someone made in our business the other day was, what Samurai Success really does is helps wealthy people do really good things and really good people become wealthy. Now, here's why we approach it that way. When you give someone that's really good at heart, when you give them more energy, money, what are they going to do with that? Ryan, you change the world, right? And when you have people who are really wealthy and they start doing the right things, what does that do? It changes the world. It starts to demonstrate that we don't have to think about money as being evil like we've seemed to have created so far. So it's really about understanding, is about taking it to the next level, really diving in and understanding how money really works and getting to this place of, okay, I'm making it. I'm keeping more of it. I'm protecting it. I'm investing it. And then the art of giving it away. Now, we started talking a little bit about that, but the art of giving it away is something that you've got to be thinking about. What are some of the dynamics that really make this work? And then how do you want to be able to propose to give it away to create a legacy if you wish, or just to be able to build something better than when you were here?
One of the things that I've been really inspired by is your vision of a world or a community, or you know, a community first, then a country of people, entrepreneurs, and businesses that have all been coached in the samurai success way of doing business. I wonder if you can share that vision of what that would be like for a community of businesses, supply chains, and all the like, working from, shall we say, the state with which you help equip them with.
So when I started thinking about how I could have the biggest impact on the world, right, in my life, and I know all of us have had that question, right? The destiny, the big, the journey of the hero kind of stuff. And we have these big lofty things like, I really did want to change the world. And so I got involved in, I started going involved in banking, and I started getting involved in attorney, being an attorney. And then I started going into politics. Okay, I learned pretty slowly. But after 5 years of being there, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the group I was with had no reason to want to change the world. They loved the world just the way it was because it was benefiting them. They did not want to change it. So I found out very quickly, 5 years, that if I really wanted to help change things, that politics was not the way to go. Just wasn't. Well, I started looking around at America and going, what is the biggest change that really can happen? And I will tell you, it was glaringly obvious. Business owners, small and medium-sized business owners, was the key to really making a shift in our country. And let's just imagine this. Because 99% of all businesses in America are small and medium size. All the ones that get the big, fanfare is the one percenters, right? 99 is small and medium. It's just the one percenters. That's the Fortune 500, Fortune 100. We don't currently work with them because we don't always have access to their CEOs. You must work with us. If you're going to work with us, you have to have your CEO available to us. And the reason for that, imagine companies truly focused on quality for their consumer and the marketplace to truly be in service. Monetized, all that stuff, right? Profitability is just great, but truly being in service. Now, think about a network of people, business owners, that are focused on that singular principle, right? It's not hard to imagine all of a sudden you start realizing how quickly this place changes. So that's the vision of this, right? This isn't the principles of samurai success. We teach principles that are universal. Let me be clear about this. This isn't like something that kind of dogma that we've created. You've got to follow our pathway. This is about you being your best and you doing your best work, and you do that, the place changes. It's just how to get to being your best is a manual or a solution and a strategy that we figured out. So that's our approach.
There are a number of entrepreneurs that are watching and listening to this, and they see themselves in this conversation. They recognize themselves and are coming to the conclusion that they need to spend some time with you, and would very much like to download some of that wisdom that you've been sharing on a more personal nature. Maybe they want to understand where they're located and understand maybe how the Samurai success system can be of service to them. What's your invitation to them? What should they do?
Well, first of all, thanks for accepting the invitation that's been in your mailbox for some time. Because I was the same way, though, because it's just one of those things. There's an invitation to this conversation that's been in your world for a long time. If you finally reached a place of enough is enough, right? The suffering, I'm done with all stuff. And by the way, 2026 is probably a great year to start that whole conversation. Then it really is simple as picking up the phone, sending out an email to us. We're looking down at the details, and again, social media is new to me, but if there's some kind of way to connect with us down below kind of thing, do that. And in 15 minutes or less, I'm serious about this, 15 minutes less, I'm going to talk to you. You and I are going to talk to each other, and we're going to find out if we can be of service to the goals and the vision that you have moving forward. We're not for everybody, guys. We know that. As a matter of fact, with 50 different pods, which is we're at 3 pods today, if we had 50 pods, we could only service 1,000 groups and companies on the whole planet. We know our limitations, but 1,000 people that shifts and changes everything. It's the small drop in the water that can have that ripple effect that we're looking for.
David, thank you for the invitation, and I can't wait to share the interview with yourself and Neil in a couple of weeks' time. So, just a reminder, if you're coming into this conversation late, David will be interviewing Neil Donald Walsh, the author of the best-selling series of books, Conversation with God. As David said at the very beginning of this conversation, that work has you can't look at any of the work of Samurai Success and separate it from the wisdom that has been shared by Neil in this lifetime. So look out for that one. Please don't keep this to yourself. Please do share this with someone that you wish to inspire. Bring them along the journey. And David, would you please leave us with a final thought for this month's scroll?
So final thought for this month's scroll is, I think we've been doing a lot of work around Swords Illumination, and there's a really special chapter that one of our clients just really shared with us. It's called Chapter 18. And Chapter 18 really talks about, we don't make decisions, we actually do decisions. So I invite you to take that invitation out of the mail that you've had in there for a long time and do something with it this time. Make the call, do the email, whatever it is, reach out and be able to see if we can help you make a difference and make it big for 2026.
2026, let's make it your year. David, God bless you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Great seeing you, man.